It must have been sometime in 2004 when I first got to learn about Rise to Honor from this TV show called Gamer TV. It was a PS2 exclusive game featuring kung fu action, chaotic shooting, and Jet Li. I wasn't particularly a fan of Jet Li, but it was my naive era where if I saw a celebrity's face or a movie franchise's name attached to a game, I just felt like I have to play it. Even though with games like Enter the Matrix, for which I had bought a new graphics card with all my savings, I had already experienced how crappy these franchise-adjacent games could be. But the dream of a cinematic, fast-paced, ultra-cool kung fu fighting game remained in my optimistic child brain, so when I saw the clips of Rise to Honor, I just had to play it. But I could never finish it, as this particular fight felt impossibly difficult to me, and because I was an impatient teenager, yet not educated in the art of patience and persistence by having played a Souls-like, I just gave up.
That's because you're a loser.
Yet, like many other games I didn't get to finish during this era of my life, this game lingered in my memory. Cut to present day. I tried playing SIFU again and died a whole bunch of times, and when I realized I'm shit at it, the lingering memory of Rise to Honor rose again, and I just had to play it.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
In Rise to Honor, you play as Kit, played of course by Jet Li, who is an undercover cop trying to infiltrate the criminal gang whose boss is Mr. Chiang, who also happens to be the friend of Kit's dead father, who happens to be the former leader of the gang. So basically, Kit saw his father living the criminal life and we can assume died because of it, so he decided to be the opposite of that, an honorable cop, so that he can end the senseless killings involved in this line of work. Although he himself straight up murders an unbelievable number of human beings in this game, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess.
That is why I don't have kids.
The story is a pretty standard MacGuffin chasing, revenge seeking, ballet fighting, damsel saving, undercover copying, maniacal laughing,
Jabroni beating, pie eating, trail blazing, eyebrow raising,
surface level tale of honor and stuff that has just the right amount of camp that you would expect from a kung fu action movie. As you can imagine, hand-to-hand kung fu is the primary focus of the game. By the way, I'm not very familiar with differences between kung fu, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, kickboxing, etc. So if this fighting style is not really kung fu, then pardon me, but let's go with kung fu, okay? Okay.
I didn't promise this shit would be good.
The control scheme of this combat system is super unique. Instead of buttons, you punch and kick using the right stick. Whichever direction the enemy is coming from, you just flick your right stick in that direction and Jet Li punches or kicks accordingly. To my knowledge, no other 3D game uses this method of melee combat, and the only other game I found where your primary attack can also be performed by the right stick is Penny's Big Breakaway, which came 2 decades after Rise to Honor. And there's also Spirit of Samurai, but that's 2D, and in both of these games, right stick is not your primary or only way to strike at the enemies. So in that sense, I think Rise to Honor is the only game that has this control scheme. On paper, this system sounds pretty promising, and when all the moving parts work, it does succeed to replicate those 1 versus 1,000 ultra cool movie fight scenes quite well. Especially the way it allows you to throw punches and kicks in every direction super quickly like we haven't really seen before or since, coupled with the subtle vibration you feel on the controller every time a strike connects. The combat system really makes you feel the exaggerated swagger of an Asian kung fu master.
I find that offensive.
You have 3 bars colored green, blue, and pink on top left of the screen, which Demon Souls later stole from this game and just shuffled the order of the colors to avoid getting sued. You can block by holding R1, which depletes this blue bar every time someone tries to hit you. Luckily, it fills back up pretty quickly when you release the key. Blocking has different animations based on what the enemy is trying to do, so it blends smoothly with the fighting animation and feels more realistic than just holding your fist in front of your face. While guarding, you can flick the right stick towards an enemy to grab him and perform grapple moves. As you hit enemies, this bar fills up, which once full allows you to hold L1 to get into adrenaline mode, during which you can perform special cinematic low shutter speed semi-anime style moves. For a game of that era, the environment is fairly destructible and interactable. You can smash people's heads on tables, drown their faces in sinks, melt their faces on a burner or straight up cook them, drag them through the bar, pick up and throw chairs, bins and other objects at enemies or break things with them. You can use weapons, which slows down the combat a little bit, but also lets you go all Dynasty Warrior on your enemies and humiliate them by slapping them with raw chicken or worse, stabbing them with it. Of course, there's also gun combat. Keeping up with the unusual control scheme, guns don't give you a crosshair. Instead, you aim blindly at the general direction of an enemy and semi-lock onto them while holding down R2, since there's no reload and you have infinite bullets. The aiming being very imprecise only works like half the time, so it does get frustrating frequently. But what saves it from being downright intolerable is that the weak gun combat has additional ornamental stuff that tend to make you feel like a badass at times. There are environmental objects you can blow up, things you can shoot to drop on top of enemies to Looney Tune them to death. You can ride a gurney in this hospital level, which feels turbo ultra badass, and of course it wouldn't be an early 2000s shooter without a bit of Max Payne in it, so there's jumping bullet time. The shooting is actually kind of similar to True Crime Streets of LA that came out like 3 months before this game, which also features hand-to-hand combat, sneaking and karate chopping enemies, Max Payne bullet time, and picking up weapons by sweeping them off the floor with your feet. Between Kung Fu combat and blockbuster shooting sections, there are parkour escape scenes which just involve you running in one direction and pressing R1 at the right time to jump over obstacles, ride zip lines, or simply hide.
Parkour!
Apart from adding a slight variation to gameplay, these sections don't do much. But what makes the game worse in the name of adding variety is the super tedious and frustrating stealth sections. Mechanically, they are very simple. You sneak around trying to avoid the enemy's vision cone, and when they are not looking, just go near them and
You give them a karate chop.
this involves a lot of holding R1 to keep yourself hidden in the dedicated hiding spots and battling with the enemy patrol pattern to find the right time to hit them. Some enemies get spooked during their patrol path, which introduces some complications, but overall these stealth sections are frustrating and boring. The cutscenes are actually pretty well done. Despite the technical limitations, you can see that the developers understood Hong Kong action cinema very well and tried to bring the same over-the-top cinematic flair in these cutscenes to the best of their abilities. There are also little touches of humor and 90s action movie campiness all over the game, like this sidekick guy throwing bottles from this bar to help you in the fight, this synchronized sexy dance/fight thing, giving this patient shock therapy, this fourth wall breaking conversation.
It's Frankie's birthday next week. He wants that Rise to Honor game.
Oh yeah, I saw the commercial for that one. It looks really good.
You can't not be impressed by these.
I like it.
The boss fights are the weakest of the combat sections in this game. None of the bosses are fun to fight, and all of them come with some irritating quirk that just makes these fights absolutely draining. This drunk guy keeps lying down to avoid your attacks. You have to shove his face in the swimming pool to get him groggier to be able to land attacks. This nurse lady literally would not take any hit. The only way I was able to find room to hit her is after I threw chairs at her. But well, she keeps throwing them at me too, so very soon we both ran out of objects to throw, and then I don't know how I actually finished her.
That's what she said!
This boss, which you can only fight using guns, gave me a very bad time due to the inherent weakness of the shooting system. And finally, the final boss is just
The all-time, without a shadow of a doubt, punk-ass son of a bitch!
Overall, Rise to Honor, despite its drawbacks, is a fun, short game that'll take you around 6 hours to finish. I'm really glad I gave it another try after all these years and finished it to unlock this sick monk costume and this politician costume, I guess? Yes, its combat has issues. It is fundamentally a bit too simple. You don't have any control over what kind of attack you are going to do, you just control the direction of the attack, which often makes losing a fight feel severely unfair. But I genuinely think that this control scheme should be tried again by a modern developer with modern technology. In my opinion, fast sword-based combat system kind of peaked with Sekiro in that once you master its combat system, it can replicate the greatest kung fu sword fights we see in movies. I also have high hopes for the upcoming Phantom Blade Zero in that regard. But I have yet to find a single-player hand-to-hand kung fu fighting game that provides that ultra-smooth, synchronized, dance-like hand-to-hand combat experience. Yeah, some might say SIFU comes close, but if you played SIFU and then played Rise to Honor, you would know why SIFU's combat, despite being great in itself, does not actually give that kung fu movie feel that I'm talking about here. Maybe the Matrix games had an opportunity to do it, but we all know how they failed spectacularly, so I hope developers looking for ideas go back and play Rise to Honor and see if they can cook up a satisfying fighting system inspired by it. I would be looking forward to it.